head, as we get through this tournament, as we get into pick and bans.
Yeah, we're going straight into our picks and bans. UOW will be in blue, UQ in red, and interesting bans straight off the bat, actually. Bard and Nidalee, our first two, taken away.
Yeah, Bard and Nidalee taken away. Both quite strong champions in their own regard. Obviously, players from both sides are proficient with those champions, and I think there's a bit of a respect bans here, as they're not particularly top tier, but they're strong enough that if put in the right hands, they can be deadly.
What I'm finding interesting is a lot of jungle focus so far on these bans, and also a lot of like mobility taken away with these bans as well. Bard, obviously one of those greater roaming supports. Revenge, one of the best bards actually in Season 1 as well, so not too surprised to see that. Farmer's Lucian as well, it's going to be taken away. UOW, having done their research, it definitely feels like watching the University of Queensland getting rid of some of those bot lane comfort picks. Similarly, we are seeing a lot of those faster, clear, brawly junglers taken away. Graves, obviously, Elise, Nidalee as well, so very reflective of the current meta, and Caitlyn will be that top priority pick. Could be locked in for UOW.
Yeah, could be locked in. Currently, Caitlyn is sitting at #1 as ADCs go right now. The meta for ADCs have been shifting, back and forth as you've got introduced new characters, buffs, nerfs, itemization. But Caitlyn sort of reigned supreme at the top there for a while. And I'll be interested to see what they pick up, because Lucian is a pretty good pick into Caitlyn. We might see an Ezreal get picked up by UQ. Ezreal's still a very strong champion. As they go for Set.
Okay, I mean, again, Clint does like sort of his 1v5 top laners. He likes to be kind of left alone at times. Set was hit by some nerfs recently, however. I had to play with him earlier today and didn't feel good. Granted, I'm not sure I'm playing at the same level that UQ will be playing at, but I don't know. I'm a little bit confused to see Set still being taken, especially not knowing what the matchup will be, but UQ seems to have that strategy. They quickly lock in Jinx following that, and it does leave up the Echo, and I do feel as if UOW, they've probably been practicing this Echo. They're going to go for it now.
Yeah, currently UOW really knows the meta, as they've picked 2 top-tier champions for this patch. Echo is arguably one of the strongest in terms of AP junglers. He has the survivability and the damage to bout. So he is in a great spot. Very good bans in that sense, because he's taking away a lot of those AP brawlers away from him that give him threats. So if things go according to plan, that Echo could run away.
All right, that said, just a little bit of housekeeping we need to address right now. The University of Queensland, they will not have their second bans available for them. They have been taken away just because I believe it would be late in getting their roster through. Probably has a lot to do with their substitutions as well, so that would be why. That is going to come into big play, I feel like. It's a bit unfortunate for UOW that they're not on the red side, because then they essentially get like free reign of whatever they would want. Still, UQ is going to have to play around missing these bans. The other thing that's important to note is, I'm sure those of you at home have noticed the names on the UOW side. Unfortunately, we couldn't get access into getting everyone their correct names this week. Next week, it will all be rectified. People will have their proper names. But in case you're wondering, top lane is Coffee, jungle is Bill, mid lane is a name I cannot pronounce correctly, but I will try.
Kawaii Kia.
Kawaii Kia. Oh, okay, so, Kawaii plus, the Swedish store, everything that's New Zealand. Duteri on AD Siri.
Yep,
Duteri. And then Moxie Babe on support. So that is the UOW lineup. Those are the players. Apologies, we don't have their names for you on the screen.
Yeah, they'll be sorted by next week, and you can look at their names in all their glory as they potentially win their next game. So we go in, they've missed their 2 bans, and UOW has opted to ban the Karma. So I wonder if that's a hit at Karma support and Karma mid. That's pretty much 2 roles that have been left up for UQ. A very flexible champion, so I think they're just trying to shut them down.
Again, it's one of those high mobility champions that can easily roam and support a mid lane, and that seems to be, in Revenge's wheelhouse, and that's kind of why they're taking them out. A lot of bans actually being focused on Revenge, which is, it's good to see. It's not too surprising, considering that normally you'd want to try and ban a middle, and Scott, well, yeah. Well. Need I say more? Syndra still will be taken away from Deanne. Syndra, a relatively simple mid laner to play, a very strong one as well. Interesting that the 2 strongest sort of like support mage mid laners are taken away, both Orianna and Syndra. It means that if we want to see that playstyle, you kind of have to get a bit creative with it now. Yeah,
if you really wanted to go for one of those control mages, you might need to go someone like a Victor. Victor's still up in the air, and Nivea is still one of those champions. Maybe not as meta, but if played correctly in a high level, I think Anivia is an absolute nuisance to deal with.
I would love to see an Anivia, but I get even more excited to see a Cho'Gath, and there's the Victor we were talking about before. Interesting to see Cho'Gath. Last Cho'Gath I saw actually was a bot lane Cho'Gath, which was a lot of fun to watch. But this one, I don't think it's going to be going bot lane. Either way, definitely you have that little spanner in the works from UOW, that little bit of flair. I do like the Cho'Gath into set matchup, actually, just because of that sheer amount of true damage you're going to be put out, can actually negate a lot of this set's shields.
Yeah, can get rid of a lot of those shields, and we have the Xerath being picked. I imagine that's just going to be a mid lane Xerath. We have seen support Xeraths, but when you've got a Lulu sitting there, I don't think they're going to be trying to, Lulu into Victor. That just seems incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, no, that's definitely going to be run by DN in the mid lane on that Xerath as the response to the Victor. Again, DN typically an AD carry main. I know he has a couple of, mages in his wheelhouse, Xerath being one of them, and finally we get to see sort of what these two teams look up lined up against each other.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to see. I'm really excited to see this bot lane in play because you've got, Caitlyn and Morgana on the UOW side, and you've got Jinx and Lulu on the UQ side. Both very aggressive AD carries who, if they can get some kills in their belt, can really run away with things. So it's going to be interesting to see how they're able to capitalize on that, and potentially the jungle pathings that will be affecting them, and if they're going to be focused or not.
Yeah, in particular, I'm going to be really excited to watch Bill's pathing on this Echo. One of the strongest champions in the game right now. The ability to clear quickly, the ability to duel in the flanks you can pull off with that parallel convergence in that mid and late game just kind of makes Echo one of those champions that never really has a drop-off point where they start to falter. I definitely feel as if UOW kind of won the draft in that regard. They have the tools if they want to set an aggressive tempo in this game. It's just up to UQ and how they react. Again, there's just so many question marks with the jungle mid synergy, with the middle in jungle and Deanne in mid lane. I'm really going to be curious to see what sort of game this UQ side brings out, because looking at their comp, they're going to need to go late. Just straight up, they're going to need to go late.
Yeah, they're going to have to. Yeah, looking at the picks and bans in that, I do agree with you that I think UOW definitely won that one, because overall they had picks for everything, they had counter picks for everything, and they overall just got a good suite of strong champions with good teamfight potential. Whereas I feel almost UQ had to try and pick up a little bit of bits here and there to maybe try and survive their bans, whereas UOW seemed to have very comfortable picks for them.
Well, and I feel like UOW really did have to come through this with a strong meta pick and ban phase, just because on paper they're probably going to be the weaker team when it comes to sort of matching that individual skill. UQ, if there's any team that's going to pull away with something a bit less conventional, it's going to be this UQ side. And I know it's weird to say, yeah, UQ is that unconventional team when UOW is sitting with the Cho'Gath in their top lane. I still like the Cho'Gath into set matchup. I think set has had a hard drop off. I think Cho'Gath is actually kind of underrated at the moment, but I feel like this is a reoccurring thing, because I don't know how many people remember last split, but it felt like every game I was always kind of questioning Clint in particular when it came to UQ, and he always seemed to prove me wrong. I wouldn't be that surprised if he does so in this matchup today, but I don't know. I'm feeling good about Waikato's chances in this game.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I am a little worried, though, about the Cho'Gath in the one sense that if he's going to be building more tank Cho'Gath, which is more likely because I don't really have any other frontline, that gives Set a really good ulti target.
Yeah.
That if he gets it right, and I see that, if they had the Orianna, that would be disgusting. But if he gets that ulti right into a team fight, that's a lot of damage going down onto their backline, onto their, onto their Caitlyn, onto their Morgana. So that's the only worry I have, is that if the team fight goes south, it can go very badly.
Do you think, okay, because there's a set in this game, I have to, but do you think Brock Lesnar would be able to lift a 12 stack Cho'Gath and just drop the F5 Set's showstopper?
I'm gonna say yes.
Yeah,
I think it's possible. He's done crazier stuff.
He has. I mean, he F5'd a shark once.
Yeah, I think a Cho'Gath's only a it's a challenge, but it's only a little step up from a shark.
True. That's what I want to see. I want to see the mother of all showstoppers with just a massive Cho'Gath running rampant, and then Set just comes barreling in through the bushes, grabs him, throws him around, and just, yeah. I think that top lane matchup is actually going to be a bit more interesting than most top lane matchups.
Yeah.
Cho'Gath makes things fun. Cho'Gath's one of my favorite champions. I'm excited to see how it plays out. Mid lane matchup, I don't expect a lot of action unless, again, we look at Bill, and if Bill can be proactive in punishing Deanne should he ever overextend. Xerath not necessarily known for their mobility right there.
No, he has a lot of damage, and if he lands those stuns, he can get some seriously good poke down, especially if a jungler comes through. He can set those ganks up really efficiently. However, like you said, if he gets out of position and Bill is able to land one of those parallel convergence or anything like that in lane, there's very little options for him to get out other than using Flash, and if he's already used it, it's pretty much a free kill.
Absolutely. And again, you know, you have Echo who has that great gap there, and he can be mobile. He can be tricky, and so hitting the stun onto the Echo could be a challenge. It's going to be very important, I feel like, for essentially Deanne to play this early and mid-game safe. A trend that I look across the board, like even if you go down to the bot lane, Caitlyn is a Caitlyn. When Caitlyn's played correctly, well, there's not much you can do in lane. You're just always going to get poked out. And while you do get some sustain with Lulu and can maybe throw some poke back, I think the Black Shield coming out of Moxie Babe on that Morgana should be able to keep the Caitlyn safe. So again, Jinx, Lulu, late scaling, probably going to have to play pretty conservative for the beginning of the game. Xerath's going to have to play conservative throughout the beginning of the game. It's going to be a turtle game for the University of Queensland. They're going to have to like sit back and play it tight. This was the team that won games in under 20 minutes on the regular during Season 1. It's just so unlike them. Already we're seeing a different setup compared to what we saw last split.
Yeah, and I think that probably comes from the fact that they've got unknowns in their roles, like their key roles, that they can't rely on that domination in mid and the jungle to really get themselves ahead. So I think they've decided to go for a bit more of a comfort, slow-removing team comp. The thing with the bot lane for UOW as well, though, is that Jinx and Morgana has the potential to just run rampant in that bot lane. Black Shield can pretty much stop most of Jinx's abilities. You know, she can't throw down the chompers, she can't zap. So there's pretty much no CC that they can put down. So if they get ganked, they're pretty much free reign to run at them. There is nothing that they can throw down to slow them down. So that's going to be really dangerous, especially if they get the wave in a bad position and they're caught out pretty much right up at UOW's tower.
Yeah, there's a lot of easy ways for, I feel like, UQ's team composition to sort of go terribly, terribly wrong, as we are still waiting to get into the matchup. We're not quite on the tournament realm just yet. One of the reasons why I have that little bit of a delay, I believe. So soon we will be in and on the Rift. That good old spectator delay, fun time now. Just want to remind everyone as well, this is the most recent patch that has come out. That said, Yone, as it's pronounced by Riot. I still think it should be Yone, or Yone, because if you look at how it's spelled, Y-O-N-E, that means the O sound is an O sound, Yone. But no, it's Yone. Okay, I get it. Well, and here's what you have to get now. Not available today. Not allowed to play him, so I still win. I'm still the winner, okay?
That being said, Lilia is available. Doubt we're going to see her in this in the tournament today, as, let's be honest, a little bit, lackluster in the jungle, but, maybe a couple of buffs here and there might become a bit more top tier. But as it stands, probably not going to see Lilia today, but she is available. I believe there's a 7-day grace period on Champions release, and since Yone only came out about
6 days
ago.
Yeah, it's right on the
He
cusp.
just hasn't got it, but I believe next week he might come through. Yeah, next week you might see some Yones.
Ooh. I don't think we'll be seeing Lilia, though, to further emphasize that point. We were talking about this earlier, just sort of like, how can we make Lilia better? My answer, and I'm curious what you think in Twitch chat, even though I can't see you, just feel free to yell at me. I'll come back and read it later. Giving her a bit of lifesteal on the Q's pressure points at the far edge circle, something akin to Darius almost. And even if it's only on jungle camps and neutral minions, just something so she has a bit more sustain throughout her clear, I think she immediately becomes a bit more usable, because where she sits right now, the only time I've seen her played in even a semi-competitive game, it was actually in support, which is entirely not where she is supposed to be. Spoilers, still lost horribly. So, like, I don't know. I just feel Lilia, you need to give some more sustain or some more tankiness somewhere.
Yeah, the only time I've seen Lilia played successfully was in ARAM when someone was playing Lilia bowling by just throwing the E down the lane like it was Wii Sports. And that was the only time I've seen success from that champion, because that thing goes all the way from base to base. So that was quite fun. But in normal games, I agree. Her clear, especially first clear, is very deadly, because you pretty much finish your first buff at like 200 HP.
Yeah.
So if you have an aggressive jungler on the enemy team, like a Lee Sin, a Kha'Zix, anything, you're probably just going to start snowballing kills into them, which is not what you want to be doing as a jungler. So,
well, if you're new.
Yeah, or inting Sion in the jungle.
I guess. I mean, I was just going Casino Nunu actually makes the literal snowball. That's where I was going with that. Either way, again, apologies for that delay. We will be kicking this game off super soon. I want to get in. I'm anxious. It's the first game of the season. It's UOW taking on the University of Queensland, an international affair as New Zealand is taking on Australia. I want to go back and read support. If you're dropping that support in the Twitch chat, again, apologies, I can't see it now, but I will go back and read it later because I like to read all the wonderful things people say about me, like how I smell and how my shirts are never really ironed correctly and how I'm wearing strange white headsets that don't really seem to fit in at the moment. Still, I want to go back and read it, so I'm curious what you guys are saying. You know, hopefully I don't piss you all off too much.
Hopefully. Yeah, that's... I didn't know how to respond to that when you sort of called me out there for a second.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay, man. But yeah, Twitch chat, we will hopefully be able to look at them maybe in the future. I believe we might get a phone or something that we will get set up so that we can see. Because currently we do not have that, but I believe we might be getting that immediately.
I have my phone. I could just like try and pull that out.
Whip
Except my phone is also like falling apart and the battery's probably dead because it hasn't been charging for the past 5 minutes. So I don't really want to rely on that. But yeah, so hopefully we will be able to talk to you lovely people out and about in the interweb world. I'm sure you are as excited as I am to get this ball rolling. It's going to be a very exciting match either way, whether it goes UOW side or for UQ. If it's going to go UQ, I expect it to go later unless something
miraculous.
I would say I was going the other way. Something terrible happens for UOW. Yeah, no, if they just completely... No, hopefully it's not going to be a quick loss for the UOW side. Hopefully if they do win, they win quickly. And if they do lose, it's because they just weren't able to close it out. But you don't want to see a 20-minute UQ victory with these teams and comps.
No, I think overall this is a game, like we've said earlier, to make a statement. So both of these teams can really make a statement going into this. And I think UOW's definitely got... I think they've got a lot on the line here for their, they want to get their foot in the door, and they really want to say like, hey, we're a team to be, you don't want to mess with us effectively. So I think that's going to be interesting to see how they play this out today. If they can, if they can roll over UQ in 16 minutes, that we've seen UQ do that to other people. We haven't really seen it happen the other way around. So that could be quite the interesting revelation.
I think it will be, as we are finally on to Summoner's Rift. Been waiting a long time to bring it back, and here we are at the QUT Intervarsity League. University of Waikato taking on the University of Queensland. And hello again, everybody.
April Fools.
Fooled you. You thought you were safe from April Fool's jokes because we're in, August now?
Yeah.
Nah.
Nope, still happening. We'll hopefully get back into game in a second. Not sure what is happening, but we will get back in there and back in game as it seems to have just loaded up, as we have UOW taking on UQ if you've just arrived.
Yes, as there we go. Ooh, look at that title card. It's beautiful. And this is the site we wanted to see. We only missed about 30 seconds of nothing. No summoners were burned. No crazy level 1 shenanigans. Only a couple wards placed, a couple sweepers taken in return. Something we didn't talk too much during that long segue into getting into this game was actually the Sejuani returning into favor, being taken by a middle. I'm a bit surprised by this because a middle is such a mechanically gifted mid laner. To put him on one of the least mechanical tanks in the game kind of has me in a bit of a confused state.
Yeah, I do agree that Amidel's definitely been one of those high-skill mechanical players. So to see him on a Sejuani is interesting, to say the least. That being said, Sejuani, a very good champion, very good potential to help the team with very little effort, effectively. Can just build tank and still do 1,000,000 damage. So I think we're going to see, Amidel pull it off, I think. I think it's a very simple champion, and we're already seeing that poke from Cho'Gath in the top lane. Yeah,
Coffee getting, some Rupture Spikes down, throwing Clint around, sort of what we expected, but if anyone is going to be up for some rough and tumble, it would be a set. Very, very slow clears, realistically, coming from the middle side on the Sejuani, not really known for its speed. As you can see, the junglers are kind of pacing with each other, but it's a one-camp advantage currently sitting for Bill on that Echo. We'll be curious to see where Echo might strike first. I normally, if you're sort of skipping the third camp on that bot side, it's because you want to go for a full clear. So I'm a little bit surprised. I expect to see some action from Bill in the near future, as possibly after collecting that blue buff, but now needs to be cautious because a middle actually might be the one striking first.
Yeah, middle looks like they're going for the gank.
Yeah, stun does connect, and Kawaii Akia in a bit of trouble, has to flash out of this one in middle, able to chase the mid laner away, and no flash on an already immobile mid laner could be the catalyst for some return ganks out of this jungle.
It looks like we could have a return gank from Bill coming in here into the top lane. The Echo maybe trying to help, help the poor Cho'Gath out.
Yes, you can see here comes Bill, gonna punch Clint around. Clint actually decides to go straight in because the middle arrives onto the scene, and that will be the first blood of the tournament going over to a middle. UQ up 1-0 as Puil tries to find anything back in return, just does not have the damage to take Clint out. Should be able to stick around and pick up some CS. Teleport actually used by Coffee, and yeah, disastrous start for UOW.
Yeah, and already we have DN coming into the bot lane, actually ganking.
Oh, a roam from the mid laner. This probably isn't going to go well as the Dark Binding connects, and the damage from Dirtiri a bit too much, and a very ill-advised roam does give the kill score right back over to an equal state.
And that's exactly what we were speaking about in the load up to this game with the Morgana Black Shield. It pretty much shut down everything they did there. He couldn't get the stun, couldn't get much damage through, got locked up, and then got completely bursted down by the Caitlyn. Jinx having to use Cleanse there because, like we've said, if you get caught in one of those traps, it is not gonna. It's gonna hurt.
There is a reason why people don't expect the level 3 Xerath roam.
Yeah, there is a reason why it's a rarely seen strategy.
It's a rarely seen strategy, unfortunately not paying out for the University of Queensland on this instance. However, very fortunate for UOW at the same time, as off of that sort of exchange of kills, they're not letting this game sort of slip away from them. In fact, now they might actually have a bot side advantage, which is going to be pretty critical, as Dragon Control, as important as ever. You might think it will go to the UOW side. Deanne, not wanting to feel that to be the case, is already starting to get some, deeper wards into that other jungle. Has to be careful because Bill is around, somehow actually misses out on spotting Deanne, and Deanne kind of got away with one right there.
Yeah, really got away with that. And we were talking earlier about how these matchups in bot lane are going to go, and how UQ's really going to have to try and focus for a late game, late game push. And you can tell pretty much straight away, look at Farmer's items, he decided to go for the D shield over the D blade because I think he knows that lane is going to be very difficult to compete. Because of the strength of the Morgana, the strength of the Caitlyn. So he's had to opt for that D-shield for that defensive start. And as we've seen, it's still just, it's rough out there. Without the D-shield, you'd pretty much be dead.
Absolutely, and the middle is actually going to try and get the spot lane back in favor of UQ. Revenge quite low, yet they're still committing for this gank. They do get the flash out of Moxababe, but you do have Tree trying to throw it right back, and Revenge, as low as that Lulu is, cannot do too much, even with heal available. Farmer didn't really commit on that gank either. Yeah,
didn't really commit there. We have Cho'Gath shoving in Set in the top lane. Echo seems to be potentially trying to go for another mid lane gank on the immobile Xerath.
Yeah, and this could be a good play, actually, for Bill and Kawaii Ikea, just because no flash available for DN right now, and you can see the damage just put down. Going to force a reset out of DN. Does have teleport if it's going to be needed for any sort of dragon play at this stage. Middle is sticking around on the bot half of the map as well. Neither team able to make a full commit for it just yet. No teleport available for either top laner. Could lead to some hesitation from both sides.
Yeah, could lead to some hesitation. Farmer just getting chunked out there by, it looks like Moxie just putting the QW down, absolutely shredding the Jinx's HP. That's a scary, scary Morgana, because Morgana got that first blood too. The second they back, that's going to be some big damage coming out of the bot lane support.
It will be, as I'm going to try and... I'm going to do some reading real quick. Duterte,
I think it is.
Duterte. I'm sorry for getting your name wrong, Mrs. Caitlyn, ma'am, sir, Duterte. I promise by the end of the split, I will have it down perfectly. It's just those letters and how it comes out of my mouth just is coming out really strange today. Duterte is what we're going to be going with moving forward. Feel free to correct me in the near future. As a middle, going to look for a play perhaps in the top lane at this stage. It's still a very, very healthy Coffee. You know, it's a full cup at this stage, but the middle still wants a sip as we wait to see that Glacial Prison come down. At the moment, that's a lot of damage can come from the consume out of the Cho'Gath. I'm not sure what the middle was thinking. That said, the Showstopper into the Haymaker should be able to throw it back, but Coffee gets out with a skim milk of health and a very narrow escape for the UOW side.
You know, Cho'Gath Ultimate hurts.
It does a lot.
Yeah. So, quick tip. Don't run at him when you're on less than half HP, because chances are you're going to get bursted. Even, you know, full tank, you know, 7,000 HP, still going to do 1,000 true damage to you.
I mean, look, a middle plays mid lane typically. Doesn't really know the Cho'Gath matchup, perhaps. If a Cho'Gath is getting into the face of a mid laner like a LeBlanc or something, that's a bad situation. So you're going to be expected to get burst down anyways. Perhaps not understanding that situation, I joke, of course. I'm not really too sure what a middle's plan was in that situation. I think just played a little bit too much with fire, wound up getting burned by the very, very hot Coffee, and that does sort of let Coffee back into this matchup. It still will be a Rift Herald secured by the University of Queensland. However, Coffee getting ever closer to that row as here comes a good play happening in the mid lane. Bill able to connect with the parallel convergence, and the follow-up damage is there out of Kawaii Ikea, and UOW, they're getting that hot lead that they needed.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we were saying was going to happen in the mid lane. If they could get that parallel convergence onto the Xerath, that could be absolutely deadly, as we see there, as it looks like the junglers might clash.
Junglers are about to clash, although a middle doesn't really want any part of Bill right now. Probably the smart call in this situation. Something I want to bring up, and this is actually pretty important, I feel like. UQ has been the more proactive team, and they've been getting punished for it. And this was something that we sort of half expected. UOW was the team I expected to be the proactive team just because of the team comps, because UQ probably is going to be much stronger later, and these early fights and skirmishes would go UOW's way. It's surprising to see UQ actually walk into them and then lose as what would be expected.
Yeah, I do agree. I think UQ has been trying to maybe scrape some advantages here and there, maybe cheese things out. Unfortunately, as you've said, it really hasn't gone their way, and it looks like we may be actually getting an attempt here in the bot lane.
Yeah, middle's going to go ahead, drop the Glacial Prison, and it does connect. Chompers will get flashed out of with the use of the Black Shield. However, it does come at the cost of Moxie Babe's life. Flash forward from the middle. Good sidestep, avoids the Super Mega Death Rocket as Duteri is able to walk away from this one. UQ gets a kill back, but they really would have liked both of them. Yeah,
they really would have liked both. Unfortunately, Black Shield, you know, reaction times, that's a hard thing to react to, a Sejuani bursting over the wall, so got a Black Shield out as fast as they could, but unfortunately wasn't quick enough to get that stun off, and for their troubles, Moxie Babe had to die for that. You know, got caught with the Chompers.
Yep.
We said the Chompers, you know, you can run through them with the Black Shield, you can only get one Black Shield, so sort of a sacrificial lamb in that sense, so really unfortunate for them in the bot lane. But overall, like you said, UQ going for these proactive plays, even though they seem to be in the defensive position.
Yeah, and I feel like that play was actually responsive to losing the Mountain Drake. And one of the strengths of UQ is when they do commit to plays, they commit to them. And even just taking out Moxie Babe, that gank does result in the first tower going down. It was the bot lane tower. It happened, I believe, without the use of Rift Herald. Oh, no, Rift Herald, I do believe, was used to sort of help rush that tower down. Fair enough, but they get it down before that 13-minute mark. You get all the plating. You get that gold advantage. I believe someone just died off camera. It was a middle, and I believe it was Bill who got that.
Yeah, it looks like Bill, he just got a second kill there, so I believe sort of got caught out and just got assassinated by Bill in his own jungle of all places. So that's not a good feeling when you're a jungler to be, you know, in danger from your own lane.
Well, Bill was the one who I said we would have to be watching out for in this matchup, as Deanne again going to fall in that mid lane Xerath. Even with Flash unable to escape, Bill, who is now 3-0 on this Echo, we highlighted it as a power pick that we were kind of surprised went through as late as it did, and now UOW actually in that driver's seat position that they needed to be in terms of map tempo to an extent. It's still a tie gold game with a one tower advantage over to UQ.
Yeah, still got that advantage over to UQ. But, ooh, we actually have a gank.
Oh, yeah, this actually could be pretty big. A lot of damage thrown onto Rivage, who gets hit with the spikes and the follow-through, a nom, and down goes Rivage down below in middle, just scaring away the rest of UOW, and a double kill is picked up by Coffee before falling to Deanne. A great turnaround for the UOW side with that fight up in the top lane, a 2-for-1 blue side advantage.
Yeah, Bill didn't even have to use Chrono Shift there, Chrono Break. He got jumped on by a middle. A middle used everything, I believe, even ultimate on him, and he just walked away. So that's really, really good for him, because the next time that fight breaks out, Bill will actually have that ultimate, and it looks like we might be getting a replay here.
Yeah, just having another look at this fight. I think what was so critical was Coffee's ability to just really chase Rivage down, following that little bit of engage out of Bill. The Vorpal Spikes connect, flash forward, nom. Somehow, some way down below, you could see Bill escapes on the sliverest of health, and I'm not really sure why UQ kind of backed off of him. We couldn't really see because there was, like, you know, little graphic stuff in the way in that instance, but very, very good fight for UOW, as during that replay, actually, it looks like Deanne has fallen again, 1-4 on this Xerath. This is why I was surprised to see Deanne in the mid lane. I'd rather have seen him go AD carry a middle in mid lane and force Farmer to play jungle.
Yeah, you know, that is an option. I don't know how successful that would have been, but it would have been an option. For sure, as we actually see the rower being built onto the Cho'Gath top, so that's where that damage is coming from. Not only is he getting that HP and that, you know, that tank back, he's also just getting the AP stacking up there. So I believe we're probably going to see something like a Abyssal Mask or something similar to that being built on the top lane, as Cho'Gath is one of those champions who thrives and is able to utilize those tank AP items efficiently. So still getting, you know, several thousand HP in resistance, whilst also still being able to do half your HP with a QW.
The only reason why I feel that Coffee might not be going for that harder AP build is just because the lack of real magic damage threat at the moment from the UQ side. I also wouldn't be surprised to see, you know, if Coffee actually goes for an armor-heavy build at that same time as well. I mean, a lot of ways he can go. I kind of want to actually see some Grievous Wounds picked up by the Cho'Gath. I kind of want to see that Thornmail taken in, because the Blade of the Ruined King rush out of Clint, it would just really shut down this set that is already behind. I think itemization is going to be super important for UOW if they're going to accelerate the small lead that they have. Again, they are the team playing with that window. They kind of want to end this game before, you know, you get to see Farmer on 3 items and this Jinx just run over these team fights. That's that name of the game right now, and it's all about UOW to make that next proactive play, yet it's always UQ seemingly invading into the UOW jungle.
Yeah, UQ invaded there and actually managed to lock down Bill long enough and forced him to use his Chrono Shift, Chrono Break, whatever one it is. I can't remember.
That one's the break.
His ultimate. They forced Echo to use his ultimate, and it looks like they're going to take that advantage and try and grab the Rift Herald. This should be their first Rift Herald of the game, or their second.
That will be the second. It will be the second. And look, an easy way to remember Chrono Shift and Chrono Break. Echo has a bat. He likes to break things. Zillion is shifty. Do not trust him. He gets Chrono Shift. I lost power in my microphone. Oh, and okay, we're back. Just as a middle gets found out by the UOW side, here comes Clint as well, dropping the showstopper, trying to escape, throws a fair chunk of damage back down onto Moxie Bay, but it's not enough to turn the fight back around. A triple kill going for Bill right now, who wants even more, one would have to think. Not going to be able to find the running members of the University of Queensland, as a great fight goes UOW's way.
Yeah, great fight for UOW there. Again, Bill picking up a triple kill. That is now a 6-0 Echo in the jungle. That is a scary, scary champion. And as we've seen, he's already strong, and he's got even more gold to boot now. We've got a 3-2 Cho'Gath, who looks like Farmer is about to have a bad time. Yeah,
Farmer stuck in between a rock and a hard place. As we take a look at the replay, Farmer actually was able to flash and get out of that one. So no one's dying down below, but up above you can see Clint nearly turns the situation back around in the 1v4. However, not enough damage with just the lone Blade of the Ruined King, as good old Bill doing what Bill does best and just popping people left, right, and center. The triple kill for the Echo. A 6-0-2 performance right now. This is why Echo is such a high tier pick.
Yeah, and this is what we were saying in the in the pre-game like lead up, is that UOW picked some incredibly good champions in terms of meta, and it's paying off.
Oh, this is why you don't face checks books, DN, but at the same time, he nearly was able to get something. Eventually, the rest of UOW is able to collapse, and DN falling yet again. UQ continuing to push into the UOW jungle and just get punished time after time after time.
Do you know about the, the classic 0-10 Yas power spike?
Of course.
So I believe that we might get that on the Xerath. Once they get that 0-10, maybe just enough gold has gone through into Xerath that they can get that second item, third item, and actually start to do a fair bit of damage. Because as we saw, even though, 1 in 6 in the mid lane, there was a lot of damage that went down there. That's half a HP bar from one person.
Onto a support.
Onto a support, yes. All things considered, but it's an option.
It's in DN's nature as an AD carry main. See support, kill support, ignore the situation around him. I love DN. Again, great dude. I only poke fun because we know each other outside of this game, but I will continue to poke fun all game long. DN, obviously, having a bit of a roughie right now. We kind of brought that into the equation. Echo, one of the best champions at shutting down immobile targets into a Xerath. The matchup seemed bad from the get-go for UQ in that regards, and they just have not done a good job in sort of playing around it by continuing to invade, by continuing to try and be that proactive team. They've sort of played right into Bill's hands.
Yeah, and ironically, it's not even that it was the mid lane that was losing, because if you look, Kawaii Kia only has 4 assists, so there's 2 deaths there that have come just from jungle or other sources. So it's not like it was Kawaii Kia, dominating the mid lane and, forcing the mistakes out of the end. I think it just came down to better wave management and understanding of what you need to do to set up your jungler. Because if we watched several times, he put that wave right under his tower. So it meant that if DN wanted to farm, he'd have to step up pretty far, even with his Q, which gives, Bill that opportunity to run in Chrono Break, and lock him down.
Something else I'm noticing actually in this game as well as a result of sort of the passive laning play and perhaps the proactive play of the University of Queensland, well, is the fact that you can almost say those in that same sentence. The University of Queensland, by playing as proactively as they are, really has kept UOW on that back foot, or perceiving themselves to be on that back foot, and that actually is slowing the pace of the game down. I could see this almost working out for the University of Queensland, where we might see sort of a 20 death power spike for the red side, where all of a sudden they just like snap their fingers and turn this game around. UOW, they have to start pressing their advantage realistically over the course of this next 5 minutes, especially with Baron hitting the map. Otherwise, that window that they've created for themselves is going to slam shut.
Yeah, I 100% agree. They really have to, they've gone for that proactive play, but they haven't really been able to capitalize too much off it. They got the first dragon, and that's been about it. So they really need to push it a little further, because the longer this goes on without them, managing to do that, they're just going to fall further behind until it becomes UOW's opportunity just to end the game before UQ can do anything.
Yeah, so we can see a bit of an action happening around that mid lane. The ace in the hole does some damage. I don't think it'll be enough to force DN out of any up-and-coming fights. The next big neutral objective is going to be Mr. Nasher, as still about 3.5 minutes, or just under 3.5 minutes, just over 3 minutes realistically, for that Ocean Soul. Now, an Ocean Soul on a Cho'Gath is not something I really want to think too hard about. University of Queensland, they might lose some of that late game insurance if UOW is able to secure that major buff.
Yeah, if they're able to secure that, actually, we have a bit of a ulti fight here in the top lane.
Happy feet from Kawaii Ikea is able to dodge a lot of that damage. And 4 members taken top by the University of Queensland. Nothing to show for it. That's a bit of an oof right now for the red side, as in response, you can see UOW putting pressure in mid lane. You have Coffee all on their own down in bot. And a lot of resources for nearly no gain for the red side.
Yeah, and another thing I just want to point out that really shows how this game is going in terms of, tempo, is UOW has so much more wards in UQ's side of the map. Their red side full strip from pretty much Raptors to red to Krugs is all watered. They have that all covered. You know, they have the blue side at least partially covered because I think they know that they're going to have to focus that side a little more and they're going to try and turtle the top side. So those wards there during that, that push, they were pinging while a middle was pretty much just a Baron pit walking down. So they knew that he was there and could back off accordingly. And that's going to make it really hard for UQ to actually try and make some of these plays because they're going to have to seriously think about investing in their pink wards and the sweepers because right now they're getting dominated by vision.
Yes, actually, like very much so. And this is that side effect of trying to be so proactive for so long and not being able to sort of sustain it, or perhaps, not necessarily playing to your team comp and their strengths. UOW now recognizing that they are at their peak potentially. They're utilizing that map pressure in terms of vision and really trying to just box UQ out of this game. I imagine soon UOW will probably try to either force that fight around Baron or just look for picks, as we see right here. Farmer just barely able to dodge the parallel convergence. The ace in the hold is able to connect. Revenge unfortunately sidestepped away, and that opens the door for Bill, who is looking for not just one, but perhaps a double. Has to go ahead and use the chrono break to escape. Deanne trying to flank from the side actually follows through with the stun. The Glacial Prism did connect onto Kawaii Ikea, but UQ can't do much more about that. The base being knocked on. A fairly accurate ultimate out of Deanne is able to find Bill on the back end, and that is Jungler down. That is shutdown gold going over to the University of Queensland, but Clint may have stepped too far forward, takes a lot of abuse. Glacial Prism connects. I believe that was on to Kawaii Ikea, yet immediately gets all that health back, so cannot do too much with the Sejuani ultimate. UQ is forced to back away.
Yeah, and Diane was really lucky there, got caught in that Victor W at the last second, but just had that team support around him to not get absolutely bursted by Caitlyn. Overall, a really good fight for UOW. Unfortunately, Bill... Ooh.
Yeah, this is interesting right now because although Bill is pretty far away from this Ocean Drake, you do have a Cho'Gath with his ultimate, so he could just devour that dragon up and actually do a fair bit more damage than the smite. Yet, numbers advantage currently in favor of the University of Queensland, at least until Bill arrives. Gold advantage definitely going over to the red side. That said, we are going to see the steel tap from Coffee, and he devours that dragon and gets to Soul Point. Up above, however, Clint with the showstopper just forced UOW out of this fight and got a couple kills on that back end. In the dragon pick as well, you can see Coffee zoned away from the team. Should eventually die, yet Deanne has to flash away from the angry monster of the abyss. How is Coffee still able to get away from this in middle? Now realizing his own is like, oh, hold up, this Cho'Gath is just going to keep chasing after my team and I can't do anything to stop it. Bill is arriving on the flank as well. Deanne zoned away from his team, tries to get the stun, but it's not quick enough. Bill gets the kill on the back end of it all, and finally we are able to reset.
And again, that's another one of those attempted proactive plays coming out from UQ that ends in disaster. They didn't get the dragon. They got absolutely decimated. I will say, credit where credit is due. Clint, like we said, very, very good ultimate onto that back line, putting a lot of damage through. Look at the damage coming out there, bursting down Moxie there, nearly getting the next kill, but just in the nick of time, Bill comes through, just locks him down.
I don't understand why Deanne flashes out and actually lets sort of Coffee get the health regen, get that Warmog's proc. You had a middle sitting on the outside, and you know the Cho'Gath ultimate is no longer available. You were actually quite safe there, and unfortunately, by pulling away from the play, UQ was forced to scatter, and that's kind of what led to Deanne's death in the end. And I think that's sort of a problem with UQ in that entire fight. They just felt really disorganized. Yes, Clint was doing amazing things on the set. However, no one was really able to back him up. There was miscommunications happening in the pit, and UQ's team fight not looking like what we saw out of them during Semester 1.
Yeah, and the problem they had there is that's a double Ocean Drake Warmog's Cho'Gath.
Yes.
He's regenerating 110, 130 HP a second. If you don't fight him, he's just going to, and as we saw, by the time it took him to walk from pit to...
Oh, hold this thought, as we might be seeing some Baron shenanigans right now. Farmer's going to try to come around from the back and middle, go straight through the center, but neither are in time to stop the Baron from being taken by UOW. A middle, the first to fall within the pit. Farmer's going to try to escape. Coffee starts to heal all of that health right back up as Farmer may have been caught out. The shot gets the stun, and the assassination from Ace in the hole means no AD carry is available. Health bars still low on the UOW side, yet no one is able to go down. There is just too much damage coming out out of this New Zealand squad. They just took a Baron. They just took a team fight. They might start knocking on some inhibitors.
Yeah, they're just going to barrel down mid lane and start knocking on that inhib door. Potentially, they could be maybe looking at 1 to 2 here. This is a really scary spot if you're UQ, because they are going to shred through those bases.
Yeah, this is potentially the game right now. Farmer not up for 10 seconds. You have Baron-empowered minions pouring into the base and middle. He's going to try to act as a front line and actually gets a lot of damage down onto Bill. Forces that chrono break. Yet it's not Bill you need to be careful about. It is Datiri, who has that, 2 items. Infinity Edge can do a fair bit of poke. Yet it's not enough for UOW to try to end the game. They're going to back away for now. UQ lives.
Yeah, I think this is the smart choice to back off and maybe reset, push that advantage, use that gold that they just got from that team fight to accentuate their lead even further, so the next time round they can do the same. I do want to point out, Farmer was doing a fair bit of damage in that last team fight. Unfortunately, you're not really able to do much as an ADC when everyone else on your team is dead. So, unfortunately, wasn't able to get that damage across efficiently. But Clint, again, able to put pretty much 4 members on the backline down to a sliver of HP. If they had any support in that, maybe a slightly stronger team and ready for that engage, that could be a deadly, deadly fight for the side of UQ. But unfortunately, they don't, and UOW gets away with now a 13-1 Echo.
Yeah, this Echo is absolutely huge. Bill popping off today. Going back to the UQ side, something else I'm noticing which really has me worried in regards to Farmer, no help from those ace in the holes out of Datiri. Twice now we have seen an ace in the hole just kind of go right past everyone on the UQ side as more action happening in the mid lane. A very, very low Datiri is just able to escape, and now comes the re-engage. It is Bill leading the charge, and he already has been able to find Farmer. Rivage will be the next to go down. The double kill might turn into a triple. A middle trying to run away. Ace in the hole gets him low, and that will be picked up by Bill as well. Deanne, the 4th member, trying to stop this UOW tidal wave of destruction, yet I don't think enough is there. It's Clint and Deanne versus the world, versus the Kiwi invaders, and I don't think these borders are going to be held. The first Nexus tower falls, the second one not far behind as Clint does what he can, tries to drop the monster of all showstoppers, but not today. Flash forward, says Coffee, I'm having a drink of Deanne tonight. Cannot quite secure the kill, but that's all right. The Nexus is the goal, and UOW pull off the Week 1 Game 1 upset.
Yeah, this is that big upset and that big statement we were looking for, that we were saying they need to make in this tournament, and they made it very definitively. They have seriously put their foot in the door as, hey, this team was one of those teams that dominated last semester, and we just dominated them.
Yeah, they absolutely did dominate them. Bill in that jungle coming into this matchup was going to be my question mark. However, I think he answered those questions. That Echo performance was one of the best I have seen in a very long time. As we sort of watched UQ at the start of this game, they were attempting to be proactive, they were attempting to force plays, but time and time again, it kind of worked against them.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, that was a really good gank for them, so that was a really good gank. But they really, unfortunately, got caught out there. They tried to make proactive plays. Some of them were a little questionable. We had that gank in the top lane where Coffee was just able to munch down. But overall, a lot of these fights just didn't go their way, whether it be by luck or by skill in some locations, or miscommunication, like we saw a couple of times.
Yep.
Things just really didn't go their way, as we saw.
No, it was a rough time, it feels like, for the University of Queensland. Obviously, they weren't playing at their full strength, but if this is going to be that lineup moving forward, we don't really know for sure. We know what they told us, we know what they're projected to be, but this UQ team definitely had some rough corners around the edges at times, and for the University of Waikato, they were strong. They were playing synergistically. Bill was leading that charge. I mean, historically, the Intervarsity Championship has been a jungle-focused league. It's been a big-time jungle mid synergy, and they had it in spades.
Yeah, they really had it in spades there, and this is a really good start to this tournament. As we said, this is one of those events where it's really turned the whole thing on its head, and our set organization of where we thought teams were going to play. Like you said,
watch this to the end.
Yeah, look at the HP coming out.
Oh, he just misses. Here. Okay, so that's what happened. He missed everything and then decided to run away.
Watch the HP. Oh, never mind. He was regenerating about 131 a second. By the time he walked out of pit, into the bush, he had full HP. So that's a scary, scary fight. And again, this is the proactive fight from UQ that lost them the game.
Yeah, it was just not the right time to push the go button, unfortunately, for the UQ side. I feel like by this stage of the game, they really had their back against the wall and felt like, well, we might have a pick right here. It's now or never. Unfortunately, that does rob us of the Ocean Soul Cho'Gath, which I was, half dreading, half excited to see, as it is an Ocean Soul Cho'Gath. I mean,